Everyone tells you that the fix for slow months is to work harder. And on the surface, that advice sounds right. But if you follow it and the cycle keeps happening anyway, is it really though? Is it actually right? What nobody's telling you is that effort is not the cure for feast or famine. In fact, effort is actually what is causing it. By the end of this, you're going to understand why your best months are the things that are setting up your worst months, and what to build instead so that your income stops swinging like a pendulum. Now, I want to confess that I did something for the first 3 years of my consulting practice. You see, every single time my calendar filled up, I quietly stopped marketing. I didn't go and announce it and saying, you know what, I'm stopping marketing. I just kind of stopped. I stopped doing outreach. I stopped doing content. I stopped following up. I mean, why would I bother? I was slammed anyway. I had the work, so life was good. But then those projects would wrap up, the pipeline would go silent, and I'd go into panic hustle mode, and I would work my way back to a full calendar. I'd be over here cold messaging, sending frantic offers, really just scrambling. And then I'd finally land the work and I'd stop marketing again. And I did this over and over and over and over again for multiple years, 3 years in fact. And during that time, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, you know what? This is a discipline problem. I genuinely believed that I just wasn't disciplined enough to keep marketing when I was busy. And looking back, that wasn't the case at all. That was completely wrong. I didn't have a discipline problem. What I had was an architecture problem. And once I understood the difference, that's when everything changed. So I'm gonna give you the exact 3-part fix later in this video, including the one piece that almost everybody skips. So stay with me for that, because that's the part that will guarantee that your next month will also be dry if you miss it. Let's start with a quick reframe here, because this is the whole thing. Feast or famine is not a willpower problem. It's a furnace that you keep turning off. Picture 2 houses in the dead of winter. The first house has a manual furnace. So what that means is somebody literally has to physically walk over there, light the furnace, and then stand there feeding it just to keep it going. And the second the room feels warm, that person, what do? They walk away, the fire dies down, and the room gets cold again. So the temperature in that house is just swinging back and forth all day long. Freezing, then warm, then freezing again. Compare that to the second house that has a thermostat in it. Nobody touches it, nobody thinks about it, it just runs in the background, kicking on and off on its own to hold a steady temperature. The people living in the house, they don't even think about it. It's just handled. And so here's the thing. Most service operators, they run their lead generation exactly like that first house, like a manual furnace. So you only stoke it when the house is already freezing. A dry month comes along, it hits, you panic, then you go into hustle mode, you land some clients, the house warms up, everything is great again, and then you stop. And it goes cold again. And you're right back at the furnace, exhausted, lighting the same fire that you lit last quarter. And I know what you might be thinking. Justin, that on and off swing, that's just the nature of this kind of business. Feast or famine is just how it works. No, that swing isn't a side effect of feast or famine. That swing is feast or famine. They are the same thing. If you think about the manual furnace, it doesn't fail because the person is lazy. It fails because it requires you to show up at full capacity every single time it gets cold. The problem is full capacity is the one thing that you never quite have when you actually need it. So the fix has never been to just feed the furnace harder, make it, give it more stuff. It's only gonna get so hot. The fix is actually to install a thermostat. Now here's the cruel twist, and this part actually took me years to see. The effort that you put in during the famine actually trains the cycle. And so you're making it worse when you're hustling and putting in more effort, because when the dry month hits, you go into this panic or hustle mode, you're doing cold outreach, you're slashing prices, you're sending frantic DMs, 11 o'clock at night, and you know what? That hustle, that panic, that works. And that's the trap. The trap is that it works. So you land a client, you feel relieved. But then that panic hustle that saved you this month is the exact thing that crowds out building the system that would have prevented next month's drought. Because now you got some clients, your head's down delivering the work that you just scrambled to win. So you're too busy to market. So you stop. The furnace goes cold again. And the cycle resets right on schedule over and over and over. Kind of like crash dieting. All of a sudden somebody looks at the calendar, realizes the summer's on the way, they panic about how they look, so they starve themselves for 3 weeks, they end up dropping the weight, and then the second Summer comes, the second the event is over, the party they were planning for, the second that it's over, they go right back to where they were. The crash diet didn't fix anything. What it did is it just trained the body to expect the next crash. So your panic hustle is a crash diet for your pipeline inside of business. There was this piece in The Drum recently. It was on creative burnout. And the piece argued that burnout isn't a people problem. It is a system problem. And what actually changes it is rebuilding how the work operates, not rebuilding how people cope with it. That is your feast or famine cycle in one sentence. You cannot cope your way out of bad architecture. You can only outbuild. So let me give you a test here. Call this the capacity test. And I want you to actually run it on yourself right now. Here it is. If you got slammed with client work over the next 30 days, would your lead pipeline keep running on its own? Sit for that for just a second. If the answer is no, because I'd be the one doing the work and the marketing, well, that means you have a manual furnace. Your whole system depends on you having spare capacity. And spare capacity is exactly what vanishes the moment that you get busy. You see the problem here? That's a design flaw. The thing that your system needs to survive is the very thing that it destroys when it succeeds. And if running that test just gave you a sinking feeling in your stomach, then I promise you're not alone. I felt that exact same thing for 3 years. So do me a favor and drop a comment that just says manual if your furnace is still manual right now. I want to see how many of us are there. I promise you, that's most of us. There's still a lot of things that I do in my business that is manual that probably shouldn't be. And there's a bigger lesson hiding under all of this. Forbes actually reported an 88% failure rate for corporate transformation efforts. 88%. And they actually pointed the blame on one flawed assumption. The assumption is that you can re-engineer a business with effort the same way that you can retool a factory. Just push harder, work longer, grind it out. Effort applied to the wrong model, though, fails predictably every single time. And so those dry months end up being the proof that's sitting in your own bank account. But what's the solution? Well, the solution is the thermostat for your pipeline. A thermostat runs on 3 things, and all 3 are always in the background: capture, nurture, convert. Capture turns the attention into a name and an email address. Somebody finds you, and instead of waving as they pass by, you actually get a way to keep talking to them. Nurture keeps that name warm with value. Whether you're slammed or you're wide open, the nurture mechanism is still hitting. If you have the right kind of nurture mechanism, it doesn't care how busy you are. It works anyway. And convert is the step that invites those warm ones right over to work with you when the timing is right for them. And that's the whole point. None of those require you to be at full capacity. None of them need your spare time, and that's good because there's no spare time anyway. They run whether you're on the beach or buried in client work. Doesn't matter, nurture mechanisms are running. That is a thermostat, and that's what you need in your business. Now, if you're watching this thinking, okay, I get the concept, but where do I even start building it? Well, that's exactly why I put together the Attention into Sales Blueprint. It walks you through the whole capture and nurture engine that will keep your pipeline warm so that you can stop relying on that whole panic hustle to survive. It's the simplest version of the thermostat that I run in my own business, and it's free. The link is in the description. If you go grab it, actually use it. Don't just bookmark it and then forget about it. But first, let's continue because I want to give you one move that you can make right here today. So let me pull all this together into the one idea that I want you to walk away with right now. Your best months are the cause of your worst month. Not your bad habits, not your lack of discipline. It's not some character flaw. Your good months are when you turn the furnace off, and the cold months are just the bill coming due for that. This is not a random cycle. You are building it one busy season at a time by stopping the second that things feel warm. And you can't fix that by just lighting the fire harder. You fix it by never letting it go out in the first place. That is the difference between a furnace and a thermostat. One needs you, one doesn't. So here's your move for today. Don't try to go and build the whole system. You're never going to finish it, and you'll probably end up quitting. Instead, spend 10 minutes setting up a single capture point that will run without you. A single lead magnet, an opt-in box on your site, even one automated reply that goes out when somebody messages you. The goal is not to have a fully finished system by the end of today. The goal is proof that you can build the one thing that keeps working after you stop touching it. Because if you don't build it, you're just going to continue the cycle. And once you believe that it's possible to build it, well, then you build the rest. So here's the bigger pattern in one line. Income that swings is a sign that you're running on effort. So if your income's doing like this, you're probably running on effort. But income that holds steady or it steadily grows, that is a sign that you have built a system. That's what I want for you. One of those things depends on you being at your best. The other one, it frees you from having to be at your best. So hopefully this makes sense. If it clicked for you, the next video that you should watch is the one where I walk through the exact 3-part thermostat that I run in my own practice, including the one piece that almost every operator skips. It's right here, so go watch that one next. And if you got value from this and you want this kind of thing showing up in your feed, go ahead and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss it. Before you go, I do want you to answer the question that I asked earlier down in the comments. What is the one task in your pipeline that only happens when you remember to do it? That right there, that is your manual furnace. And if you name it, that's the first step. We can find it together and we can fix it together. I'll talk to you soon.